Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Codedsteele, and welcome back to another Autodesk123D design tutorial. So, I kind of put a lot of thought, I hope, I hope you guys will see it that way, into what we were going to design for this tutorial. And kind of what I came up with was this, the maker slide. So if you guys have ever seen this before, or you have a 3D printer, your 3D printer might use this in its frame for the frame construction. It's that 2020 aluminum profile extrusion. So this can be really handy for just about anything, because you can put these nuts inside of there and you can actually use these to hold things. But it's also kind of expensive, more so to ship than it is to actually buy itself. It is still rather expensive, but another thing you could do if you want this stuff is you could 3D print it and make it out of plastic. Now I understand what you guys might be thinking is it won't be as strong, but if you have some kind of a low critical or whatever application where it doesn't need to be extremely strong and rigid, maybe this will suit your needs for that project. So without further ado, let's turn around. We'll get started with this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to just plop a box on the grid. So there are a number of ways we can go about doing this. We could actually sketch the profile on the grid and extrude up, or we can start with a box and sketch on the box's face. I think sketching on the box's face is a lot easier. So that's how I am going to do this. So the first thing we need to do is draw the circle in the center. So we plopped a box that was 20 by 20, and the length is arbitrary. We don't care how long it is. We can change that later. So I just left it at the default 20. It is important to remember, guys, we are working in millimeters, so make sure your units are set to millimeters, not inches. Otherwise, your measurements are going to come off kind of wonky. But we hit OK there. The next thing we're going to do here, there's a hole in the center of this. We can see that hole is 5 millimeters, so that's simple enough. We'll turn around, we'll come up here, sketch a circle, and we will find the center of this and draw a 5 millimeter circle. And if we want to, we can go ahead and just extrude that. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's undo that, try that again. We can extrude that all the way through. And now we've got a nice hole in the center of our cube here. The next thing we can do is we can actually do these rounded edges, and the reason I'm going to do that right away is because it's there's a critical measurement here. We can see that this ends 1.5 millimeters in, so I can actually use the radii that this generates as a marker for the cutout here. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to do my fillet. So if I come up here to the modify tab and say fillet, I can click on all of the edges and do a chain fillet here. Let's see here. There we go. Nice and easy. And we can do our chain fillet of 1.5 millimeters, since that's what we had here, that 1.5 millimeter radii. So that works well. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to delete this circle. And to make life easy on ourselves when we start sketching the space and everything, we're going to actually turn around and we're going to use the project function. And the reason why I'm going to do this is specifically for these lines right there, these radii lines or radii points. If I didn't have these, it would be difficult to gauge where everything is at. So it's probably just best to have that from the get-go. So that's why I turned around and went up here and projected that using Sketch Project. All right, the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to kind of start trying to get some of these dimensions. So I'm going to go for this stuff right away. I need half of 3.1 and half of 6.2, which is 3.1, and half of 7.2, which is 3.6. So I'm going to quick draw both of these lines going these directions here. And how I'll do that is I'll just turn around. We'll start at the center of this circle, and we'll go out 3.1, and we'll do the same. We'll go out 3.1 that direction, and then we'll go out 3.6, and then the same thing, we'll go out 3.6. So that kind of gives us our starting point to a degree to kind of start getting that shape that we need. The next thing we can do here is we can actually draw a line straight up at this 6.2 marker. Oh, let's try that again. Sketch, draw a polyline, click on the sketch, and draw a line straight up. And you guys will see why I'm doing this in just a second. It'll make a whole lot of sense here, hopefully. Let's turn around, draw another line straight up. And it's kind of difficult to see here, but if we look, we can see that this is actually a 45-degree angle. You can actually check this. There are other sketches. You can actually see it right here that this is a 45-degree angle on this sketch down here in the corner. So that's how I know this is a 45-degree angle from here to here. So the way I can do that is I can actually draw a polyline from that marker that I made earlier and tab this and type in 135 degrees. And I should be looking for 0.707. If it snaps to 0.707, that's the dimension that I need. Can do the same thing on this side since it's mirrored, and do 0.707 and 135. And then it'll automatically snap to where I need it to be. So now I've got that line right there. And if I wanted to do a little bit of cleanup, I could trim this stuff away, but we will save that for later. The next thing we kind of need to do here is identify how far up this part needs to go. And the way we can do that is we can identify that the radius here is actually where this line ends. It's kind of hard to see, but it's kind of pointing right there. And you can kind of see if I follow that straight up, it ends right there. So what I can do is I can turn around and I can use this radii marker here and hit this point and bring it all the way over to this point and then end it. And what that's going to allow me to do here is just continue my sketch as far as that line goes there. So this will be there, that'll be there, that'll be as far up as this will go, and then we'll continue it over. The next thing we can kind of do here now is starting to look at how far down we need to come to actually draw this shape. So this line here is 6.2 millimeters. We can see that because this opening is 6.2 millimeters and this side up here is 6.2 millimeters. So we need this line to be 6.2 millimeters, but we have a problem because we don't know how far we need to come down from the center of that circle to start drawing our line. So we need to figure that out. And the way we can figure that out is we know that the circle is 5 millimeters, and we know that the circle is 5 millimeters, and we know that this is 6.2 millimeters. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Let me think about this here for a second. No. Oh, yes. We know that this is 6.1 millimeters, so this side is also 6.1 millimeters, which gives us 12.2 millimeters. 17.2 millimeters plus the 5. So we know that 2.8 millimeters is this and this dimension, so that's 1.4 millimeters apiece. So what we actually need to do to come down, we need to do half the radius of this, which is 2.5, plus 1.4, which is 3.9. So if you guys followed that math, I need to come down 3.9 millimeters from the center of the circle to this bottom extrusion to create the line where I need to trace this line about. So let's do that. I'm going to turn around and come down 3.9 millimeters at a 0 degree angle. Beautiful. Now we've got our line which marks the beginning of that trapezoid. So now we need to do our 3.1 millimeters in each direction. 3.1 and 3.1. And I could have obviously just drew it to this line, but that's fine the way I did it. So now we've got our top part of our trapezoid. So the next thing we need to work on is getting our angle to come down to where this 11 is at here. And the way we can do that is simply enough as just to turn around and draw two 5.5 millimeter lines in each direction here. And that'll give us new points to snap to do our drawing or our next lines there. So we go 5.5 in each direction. 5.5 in each direction. And then we can turn around and we can zoom out a little bit. There's our 5.5. Okay, so there's our point there. I want to turn around, and around that, about on that point, I want to come up. If I zoom out further, I want to come up 20 millimeters. Done. And do the same thing on the other side. Come up 20 millimeters. All right, and now we've got our lines that we needed to draw there. So now we need to go from here to there at a 45 degree angle again. So if we come at a 45 degree angle, we can kind of see that that snaps to 3.394. So if we do the same thing on this side, and we type in 3.394, and we type in a 45 degree angle, it'll snap to that line at that point right there. So that is pretty much it at this point. All we need to do now is clean this up. So I'll come up here to my trim command, and I can start trimming away lines I don't need. I do not need this line, or that line, or that line, or this line here, or that line there, or that line there, or that line there. This line here this line there I don't need. Let's go back to our trim command here. All right, that line there I don't need. This line is trying to cut away the whole line, but if I want to fix that, I can trace from there to there, and then I can come back up to trim and trim away that line and do the same thing over here. Do a polyline from there to there, end it, and do the same thing. Trim again. Trim again that shape. And then I also want to trim that line. And this line. And this line. And I'll try to trim away all this stuff because I don't need it anymore. Until I have something that looks kind of like this. With the exception of I'm going to trim this line too. I shouldn't need to, but I'll just clean it up a little bit. All right, beautiful. And then we have a shape that'll look like this. So just to kind of review all of these dimensions, in case you just want to draw this line, if we go to the center of the circle, we can come out 3.1, 3.1, and actually you can go 7.2. So you can go 3.6 in each dimension. Out from the center of the circle, if that's how you want to draw this, and then you can come at a 45 degree angle up 0.707, up 0.707 at a 45 degree angle in both directions, and then come up. It looks like, what is that? 1 millimeter on each side. So you could come up 1 millimeter, then go over 2.4 millimeters on each side, and then come up 2.2, come up 2.2, go over 3.394 at a 45 degree angle. Same thing, 3.394 at a 45 degree angle. And then we can go over 6.2 at another, just straight across at a 45 degree angle. And this all is, I believe, 3.9 millimeters. And we can actually verify that from the center of the circle. So that could be your reference line that you use to turn around and draw all that if you just want to draw it manually. Otherwise, if you followed all the steps I have, you should have a shape that looks like this. The next thing we want to do is extrude this out in different dimensions here. So I want to extrude it out this way, and that's going to create a shape that looks like this. So we can kind of see our 2020 aluminum extrusion starting to take shape now. The next easiest thing to do, rather than turn around and draw the shape on all four sides, the easiest thing to do is actually going to be to rotate this shape. And the way we can do that is just by clicking move, clicking the little arrow, and rotating it about the, I don't know what axis this is, Z or something like that. And then turning around and extruding again out -20, -20, kind of cut the shape out, and then again we can move it, rotate it about this axis here, another 90 degrees, and then do the next one, extrude it, -20, and then our final rotation, we can turn around and rotate it another 90 degrees, and then extrude it once again, another -20. And voila, you guys can see we have got our distinctive 2020 aluminum extrusion shape. So once we have this, we can honestly do whatever we want to do with it. I can turn around, move it out here, and if I want to make it wider, all I've got to do is pull it out, and I can make it as long or as small as I need it to be. So that is why I just started with any arbitrary shape. It should be 20 millimeters. So if I wanted to, I think these things come standard like 250 millimeters or whatever. All I would have to do is type press pull 230 millimeters and bring it out another 230 millimeters. And if I zoom out, I should be able to click on the whole solid and move it back. And now I've got a 250 millimeter plastic extrusion channel. And I can do this at all kinds of different lengths, obviously up to 500, 1,000, whatever. I think it's like 250, 500, 1,000 are standard lengths. You probably could turn around and make them 125, but this gives me the flexibility to make it any size I want to be, provided my printer can support the size that I'm trying to print this device to be, or this extrusion to be, this plastic extrusion. So I believe that's all I have for you guys for this tutorial. Please like, comment, subscribe. This 3D print profile will be available on my store. So if you guys stay tuned, I am working on still kind of getting this all set up, but once it's set up, it will be available on my store to be printed. So you guys can turn around, you can put in requests to print stuff on my store here online, or once I upload it, and which will be soon, once I upload the channel, you'll be able to order it in different lengths. I'll probably put 125, 250, 500, and 1,000 up at first, and then you guys will be able to order them in all those different lengths directly from my store. I will print them. I don't think I can actually print 1,000 or even 500 for that matter, but I can print, I think the maximum I could probably print is like 300 or 400, since my print bed is only 8 inches tall. So but anyways, I can print these at various lengths, and you can order them at various lengths provided I have the capability to support it. So anyways, that's all I have for you guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.